Welcome to BookHuddle. I'm your host, Karen Reeder with Readgab. Today, our guest is Mari Mancusi. She is the author of New Dragon City and this new book come out called Dawn of the Dragons that is the prequel to New Dragon City and a host of other books, especially Disney kind of twisted tales. Are they twisted tales?
Oh, Twisted Tales, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So we've got so many wonderful books out by Mary. I would love just to give you a second, though, before we start talking books, to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. I've been writing books for about 20 years now, so a really long time. I've seen a lot in the publishing industry, but I'm still here. And, I live in Austin, Texas. I have a daughter who just started high school last week, so that's been the big exciting thing in our house. In addition to writing, I love to travel. I want to always take some kind of big trip every summer. I love going cruising. I love doing Disney cruises, especially. My
Fun.
friend and I, who's another author, Allie Carter, we actually did a Panama Canal cruise 2 years ago where we spent 14 nights like writing and, eating good food and having someone pick
Yes.
up after us. And it was just the best writing cruise ever. So I
Awesome.
love that. And yeah, so that's a little bit about me.
And the best part is the food. I did a study abroad
Yes.
with my family, and so me and my husband were co-directors, and the university pays to send my families because we direct this. But then it's just so hard to balance all the time and the kids. And I've got, 5, 8, 12, and 16-year-old, most of whom are not interested in all these different countries' food. And so I was like, do you know what? Next time I'm just going to send a message out to the students and see if anybody wants to come with me, or I'll just go by myself and eat French cuisine that I really want because that's what I want more than souvenirs is the food.
Yeah, absolutely. We were able to go to France, to go to the Nice area, and we stayed up in a little medieval village in an Airbnb with this like 15th century townhouse. And we just kind of explored and ate everything, my daughter and I, because my husband had to go home and work.
Yeah.
So we ate our way around the south of
Oh,
France.
so fun. Oh, perfect. Love it. All right, so author icebreaker. We're going to do something dragony since you write about dragons.
Mhm.
So I don't think we can see them in the corner, but I've got the Wings of Fire dragon books that
Yes.
my sons love and devoured, and they love that they're in graphic novel format as well. And I listen to them and I really love them as well. So tell us, what dragon would you be and why?
So my favorite dragonette out of them is Tsunami. I just love how she has an opinion on everything and she is
Yeah.
not going to take anything. Like she is the, push forward, go through, like we're going to make this happen. And I am not like that. I'm much more, shy and reserved in the sense like I'm probably like Sunny, like, yeah, we all get along. And so I love Tsunami's attitude and like I would aspire to be her.
Neat, neat. I love it. All right, so tell us a little bit about, do both books in whichever order you want to do, New Dragon City and Dawn of the Dragons. What is this about?
So I wanted to write a dragon series. I had just come off another dragon series called Dragon Ops, and that was about an AI dragon in a video game. So I was like, what other dragon kind of things can I do? And I didn't want to just do a dragon series set in a fantasy world because it's been done a billion times. I was
Right.
trying to think of a new take. And when I was coming up with the second Dragon Ops book, I thought, oh, well, it could be kind of cool if the dragon came to the real world, but I couldn't really figure out how I would take an AI dragon in a video game and bring them to the real world. Even though that was a cool concept, it just
Yes.
didn't kind of make sense. So that's when I was started to think, oh, well, maybe I can do a series about in our near future, what if dragons showed up and there was a dragon apocalypse? And the first story that I wrote was New Dragon City. And it's smack dab in the middle of the dragon apocalypse, like 5 years into the apocalypse. And the main character had been living in a bunker with his prepper dad. His name's Noah. And they've come up and they're living with this ragtag team of survivors because the dragons have decimated the world. And then he ends up becoming friends. If you think of like a How to Train Your Dragons kind of thing, where he becomes friends with a dragon and starts to bond with her and learn her thoughts. And they start to realize that they have more in common than they think. And there's a way for the humans and the dragons to kind of get along. Definitely wrote it as kind of a commentary of our own society. I wrote it during the pandemic when everyone kind of had their line in the sand drawn on whatever it is, and no one could come together. And the built of that frustration, I kind of thought, well, let's do it with dragons. And so that's kind of how that came about. And then when the book came out, it got on a few state reading lists, like the Florida state reading list, the Texas state reading list, the Bluebonnet list. And I would go to different schools and talk about it. And all the kids wanted to know was, how did this dragon apocalypse
Yes.
start? Like, how did the dragons come? Where did they come from? How did this big war start? And so I thought those are interesting questions. And so that's when I decided to do Dawn of the Dragons, which is actually a prequel, which is kind of odd to do one book and then go back. But
Yes.
in this case, it really made sense because, there were so many unanswered questions that I could give to the kids.
Oh, yes. I loved it so much. And I loved that there was just a little bit of familiarity. It really, set the scene for, because when you go back to read another book, it's nice to have a character that you already know, that you've loved. And so that was really fun to have just some little connection and then to develop the other character stories.
Yeah, we wanted it to be so if you did stumble across Dawn of the Dragons first, it would make sense. You could read it, and then you would read the New Dragon City, and it would all make sense, and you wouldn't be missing anything. But for those who read New Dragon City, we wanted to give them that, like, what was Noah like back then?
Yes.
But of course, he was only 7 years old when this happened, so he couldn't be like and he was down in a bunker, so he couldn't be
Yes.
the main character. But bringing him back in and seeing what he was like at the start of this dragon apocalypse, seeing what his dad was like before this all kind of took place was, like a little bit of nostalgia for the readers.
Yes. Oh, love it so much. And my kid loves it too. So I was listening to New Dragon City. I was so excited that I finally got the audio and then I picked my son up and usually I just turn it off because it's hard to come in listening to a book. And since I'm always listening to kids' books, I don't want to ruin it for them. But I hadn't turned it off and I said, it's towards the beginning. Do you want me to leave it on? And he said, yeah. And then we had lots of opportunities that month to ride together. And so we listened to the whole thing together and it was really fun. But then about a third the way through, I was down here working. This is my library with my computer set up and it's got bookshelves all around. And the kids actually don't often come back here because my computer isn't right. And so he very carefully came over and was watching the lights. And I was like, oh, I need to be careful about that so they can. And he pulled New Dragon City off. And I was really excited about this because usually I'm really good about setting books out around the house when I buy them before I shelf them, just to give them a little taste of it because they're more likely to pick it up. But I've discovered they do look at my books even if I shelf them and become familiar with them. So he grabbed it and he goes over there and I noticed he opened it like this. And there was, the last little bit left. And I said, hey, we're not that far into it. You're breaking rules. You're reading ahead. And he said, I am. And he read the ending. Hey, but I loved his excitement for it, and that he was listening to it and he could not wait to find out what happened. And he went and read the end and then he still listened to it, the rest of it with me. So it's
Amazing.
so fun. And I love to do themes, and just work those in and find natural ways to talk about conversation. And I do love that you did this with dragons, because like you're saying, it's harder. Well, I don't know that you really said it, that it's harder, but you said that these big things about the COVID and stuff, it would be harder to sit down and be like, let's talk. And but if it's like, well, obviously there's going to be differing points of view. What kind of gift is a dragon going to bring the humans that a human would be pretty upset about? And so, like when I was getting to that point in the book, I was like, oh, this is going to end bad, and you can just feel it coming. But there's a very easy setup for misunderstandings. Why do you think it is important to approach misunderstandings as a theme and get this out in the open?
Yeah, because I think in society and just kids in school too, we don't have to talk about bigger pictures, even just like everyday life of having, like, I have a new high schooler, as I told you. So I just went through middle grade or middle school, and I, like, oh, so and so is not sitting with us at lunch anymore. Clearly, she doesn't want to be our friend. And then you find out, like, something really dumb, like, like, oh no, that wasn't even anything. Like, she had a cold and she didn't want to infect people, like something. There's so many misunderstandings, and kids jump, and adults too, jump to conclusions. Oh, this person must hate me. Oh, this person must not want to be my friend anymore. And just we do this.
Every age. Like my
Yeah.
5-year-old did it. I picked her up
Mhm.
from school and she's going to kindergarten with her friend that's our neighbor. And she's like, she doesn't want to play with me anymore. She has a new friend. I was like, no, honey, that's not it. And then, of course, the next day at church, she's waving at her and excited and coming over and talking to her. And I'm like, just everybody, every age, we do it.
Yeah. And and sometimes the intentions are not, we are not perfect in our like the sometimes when we interact with other people, we're so in our own heads, we might say something, stupid, or,
Mhm.
just that doesn't come off right. And then the person's like, oh, they don't like me. They were
Yeah,
snobby to me, or they said something terrible to me. And you're sitting at home being like, why did I say that? That just came out of my mouth and
right.
I didn't even mean it that way. And I feel so embarrassed, but I don't know how to tell her, tell that person. And it happens all the time in, real life. And so I thought, what would it be like if it was dragons? I mean, they would
Right.
really not understand human cues and human norms, and they're trying really hard. And it's like, oh well, Lucas gave me a piece of meat, so they must like meat. So let's kill them some meat. And then they I don't want to spoil it, but like they did the
A
wrong
bad
kind of
piece of
meat. Let's
meat,
just put it that
the
way.
one they should not bring.
Yeah. And then the humans are horrified, and the dragon's like, what's wrong? I thought you guys were meat eaters. It seems fine. Like, we brought you this amazing gift. And so, just that something so small and minor and misunderstood could start this huge, conflict that basically destroys the world.
Right, right. And I feel like then we can take it and branch and go farther. And even when there are going to be times, and I think I'll use something very, very extreme because it's easier to use the extremes because people accept it easier. Like in Adam Gidwitz, his book about the Germans and the spies, but he's really getting behind the scenes and, explaining what the other side is like. But it's very clear that we're not like being like, oh, and so we feel bad for them because they followed the Nazis and supported the Nazis and killed people. But explaining is not exculpating, that we're
Mhm.
not justifying. Just because we're explaining and trying to understand is not justifying.
Right.
And so that can really help people see that there's a reason for it when we do an extreme like dragons, or if we do an extreme that just because we're trying to see the other side, we're not necessarily justifying what happened, but we're trying to get to the root and see the huge danger of
Yeah.
misunderstandings and not talking.
Yeah, I mean, you always hear the saying like the villain is the hero of his own story. They have their own justifications in their mind, and whether it's right or wrong, it's like, it doesn't matter. It's saying basically like they think they're doing this for this reason. They're not just being evil. They're doing it because they feel this motivation. So it's more interesting to look at characters that are, conflicted, or, have a different motivation, and like why? Like
Right.
what, I talk about bullying sometimes, with my daughter. Like, why is this a mean girl? Why is she a mean girl? Well, what's happening? That she's probably very unhappy. There's probably something going on at home that's making her feel insecure. She feels, lesser than, so she takes it out on other people. It's probably nothing to do with you. You are just the target because she's has her own issues that she's dealing with. And every kid has their issues, and each one has different ways of dealing it. Maybe they're really shy and withdrawn. Maybe they're really mean, not justifying it, like you said, is no, there's no justification of being a bully. But if you kind of look, like, understand, oh, this person's having horrible problems at home, and she's coming to school and she's feeling really unsettled, and this is the way that she's coping with it, then you can at least kind of get started with understanding.
Yeah. And if there's ever going to be a solution, that's first
Mhm.
steps, right?
Yeah.
Don't we want to stop bullying? Well, what's first steps then? Is
Right.
trying to communicate and talk and find solutions. Because if we're just so quick to jump to conclusions, then we're never going to be able to talk and find a solution.
Yeah.
Yeah. So going on, how could a child, because you're going and doing school visits, right? And I love when you got your little plush dragons and everything.
Yeah.
How could a real life child relate to either Lucas or Noah?
Well, I'll pick Noah for this one because Noah is, I sometimes say New Dragon City is a story of divorce. Everyone thinks it's a dragon apocalypse adventure, but it's really a story of divorce. His parents are not divorced because there's no laws anymore in the apocalypse, but
Right,
they're
right,
separated and they're very much at odds. And they both very much love Noah. And, even though most of people who read it will very much disagree with the dad and the dad's point of view,
right.
He loves Noah. He wants his family to stay together. He thinks he's doing the right thing by, forcing Noah to stay
Right,
with the
right.
people that, the group that they're with. And his mom is like, no, we have to figure out another way. I found these people that are more open-minded to dragons. We can figure out a way to have peace. And she loves Noah and she wants him to be safe with this found family. And so they both are pulling him in opposite directions. Should we destroy the dragons? Should we save the dragons? And poor Noah is caught in the middle. And that's something that happens to so many real life kids, where their parents get divorced and the parents just both love the kid and want what's best for the kid, but they can't agree on what that is. And then the kid gets torn from each parent because they love both parents and they don't know how to take sides. And that's something that they is really hard to deal with as a kid. So that's what I kind of wanted to explore with that.
Oh, I feel awful that I even overlooked that. What a powerful theme and how wonderful to be able to use that for kids. And
Yeah, and I got a message from a mom just the other day, actually, who said, we are going through a divorce, my husband and I. And when my kid read the book, it was Ava, they read it together. And she was like, we were able to have a talk about this using the book as an example. So I thought that was
oh,
really special.
oh, makes my heart feel good because that is my goal here is to like help adults find themes and help them communicate with kids through these themes with books. Oh, love it so much. So I think about the dad a lot
Mhm.
that, he's he gets a hard, it's he's not really the villain, but kind of because the
Mhm.
dragons aren't really the villain either.
Right.
But so why is it important to try and see things from the dad's point of view if he's so clearly wrong?
Yeah. Well, I don't think we need to see it from his point of view, like that we need to understand why he feels this way. I think it's important to accept the fact that other people are going to feel different than you and figure out a way to still include them in your life or, have some kind of relationship with
Yeah,
them if there's someone you love and understand that you're not always going to agree with everything that the people you love agree with, but your choice is to either cut them out of your life, and maybe that's healthy for you, maybe that's yours, but some people don't want to do that or can't do
right,
that. How do you stay loving to someone who just feels so differently than you? And
right.
and so I kind of want to just explore that topic, and it's not a black and white, at the end of the story he's hugging dragons kind of thing. I wanted to be like, this would be impossible. He could never accept dragons as part of our lives, and so he's never going to join that community and just, suddenly abandon everything he believes. But he is able to finally see through his love of his son and his ex-wife, that maybe there is a way to kind of live and let live and kind of lay off a little bit.
Yeah,
So, and that was important to have him sort of have a change of heart, but not like 100% because I thought
right.
that would be really unrealistic.
Right. Oh, I love that. I really did. I loved that you maintained some aspect of that. You know what I mean? That he saw some importance because of love for family. And that's so valuable to see his love for family and to
Yeah,
see the good in him. Because in society, I find there to be great danger if we're going to be like, I'm on this side, I'm on this side. We don't overlap ever, never.
right, right.
And so that we've got to figure out ways to work together and find ways to communicate, respecting the person while maybe not respecting their beliefs. It's still possible to respect and be kind to other people.
I think there's a way to find some kind of common ground, between the people we love, even if we have different opinions.
Right. Absolutely. Like going back to COVID, it always would make me so sad to hear when people broke off friendships,
Hmm.
whether it was family members or just friends, but still broke off relationships because of differing views. And I saw that happening a lot then, and that made me
Yeah.
sad. Going off that, why is it important to have multiple types of people in a society then, rather than having everybody that agrees?
I
Maybe
mean, I
not
think that's
extremes.
that's just how it is, right? I mean, I tried to write the books very realistically as like what kind of people do we have, and we're never going to have a society where everyone is thinks the same. That's just
Right.
impossible for humanity. People grow up with different backgrounds and different beliefs and different, experiences, and that shapes who we are. And so we got to accept the fact that there are people that are going to be different than us. And, I think that coming together and finding that common ground is so important because it's impossible to just hope for a world where everyone's going to agree with you all the time. That's just unrealistic.
Right.
And it's never going to happen. So let's be realistic and understand that this is tier people who won't believe what you believe, and that have different opinions, but maybe there's a way where we can live in peace and like, figure out a way to get along. I mean, I know that sounds like very kumbaya, like,
Yes.
we all just get along. And so I didn't want it to be this pat, story ending like everything's happily. It's like, okay, we're working towards something. At least we have a
Right.
goal.
Right. Yeah. And when I would say things like that, especially early on in my relationship with my husband, that I was like, I just feel like the two sides in politics could find a way to work things out better. And he's like, you're so unrealistic. And I'm like, I'm never going to give that up. I don't care how delusional I sound. I feel like people should talk and play nice, like on the playground. Just like as a teacher, that I want people to play nice regardless of differences. I feel like it's possible to figure out a way for it in our society. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I love books that take this and do it with something even like dragons, that it's like, yeah, it's an important thing to see that there are extremes and that we can still talk.
And we don't have to like even politics, yes, but I mean even like fandoms, like
Littles.
oh, you like I write for Frozen. Like there are Frozen fans that are so mad at the ending of Frozen 2, like it's destroyed the whole franchise because Elsa and Anna didn't get together at the end, they didn't stay together at the end of
Yep.
Frozen 2, which is a spoiler, but it's been out for a while.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, sorry. But like that, they're passionate about being angry about that and that
Yeah.
it ruins it for them. And it's like, it's very interesting to think, oh, you loved this franchise and because it went, and so some people love the ending of Frozen 2. And so,
Yes.
like even fractured like fans in a same fandom
Right.
and they won't talk to each other and they'll be really angry at each
Yeah.
other and they'll yell at each other online. And I'm like, it's okay. You can hate the ending of Frozen 2 and you can love the ending of Frozen 2 and you can both love Frozen, like or
Yes.
parts of Frozen. It's okay. You can still be friends. And I think it's kind of sad that we're in a society that has to be all or nothing. If you don't agree with the liking the end of the movie or whatever it is, no, we can't be friends anymore. We can't talk online.
Right.
We're going to yell and be enemies. Like, why? Why? We're all people. We all love different things, and that's okay.
Right. The Frozen analogy just brings me joy because it
Yeah.
should. It should be as simple as Frozen, as on the playground, as starting in kindergarten and working it up through elementary and middle and high school, that we should be able to disagree and still be able to have conversations no matter the subject.
Yeah.
Oh, love it. All right. So why do you love fantasy? Have you written anything besides fantasy, dystopian,
Yeah,
Disney?
I've written some realistic books as well. But I really do like
What
fantasy and
drives you to
science
that?
fiction. And I don't know, it's fun to go into another world, and most of my fantasy is more on the realistic side in the sense that it's
Yes.
like either portal fantasy where like a normal everyday kid goes into a fantastical world, or near future where a normal kid ends up in a fantastical
Yeah.
situation like a dragon apocalypse, versus like a straight fantasy where we're taking characters from another world in that sensibility.
Yes.
Because I really like the fish out of water type story and
Right.
this idea of what would it be like to suddenly, as a regular modern day kid, go into a fantastical world, and how would you cope with that using everything that you know from the real world. So that's the kind of thing I'm really interested in.
Love it. Love it. So if you could have, because in the books, there's this bond that the dragon and human, and I guess it's a tiny bit of a spoiler alert. In the books, there's this bond that dragons and humans are able to make through a unique way. If you could bond with an animal and be able to communicate with it mind to mind, tell us about what the animal would be and why.
Oh, it would have to be dogs because I love dogs and I have dogs. And we actually just got a new dog a couple of weeks ago. Her name's Murphy, and she was from the pound, from the animal shelter. And we saw her, and she was so shy and so scared, but so sweet. And so I thought, we're going to take her home. We're going to, give her a safe home. And when she first got home with us, she's just so scared. Like she'll hang out in a crate all day long. She doesn't know if she wants to come out. She's afraid. Like she'll sneak out and then she'll see someone, she'll run back in. And like, I don't know what happened to her in her previous life. She can't tell me. And
Yeah.
so I don't know some of her triggers. Like when we take her for a walk, a trash can might freak her out,
Right.
like, why? I don't know. Like, I don't know. Did she have a bad encounter with a trash can, or is it something reminds her of something? And I would love to be able to communicate with her and one, hear what her fears are, and two, try to just be like, it's okay. You're safe now. Nothing is ever bad going to happen to you again as if I can help it. And whatever happened to you before, we're going to heal you and we're going to make sure that you feel safe in our home. And so that's what I would do. I would want to talk to Murphy.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I love it so much.
And, we talk to her all the time. She can't understand us, but I do
Yeah.
think she's starting to come out of her shell and trust us
Nice.
a little more. So if we do this again in a year, I'll tell you all about what, but it would have
Yay.
been such a shortcut if I could just talk to her and,
Right?
reassure her.
If there was just this mental capability of speaking in the language they understand, because I know they get tone and they get actions and stuff, but if you could just jump right over that and say, hey,
Yeah.
let's just understand each other's language straight up.
Yes.
Oh, that would be so perfect. Love it. All right, so I love, love, love New Dragon City and Dawn of the Dragons. It is totally my jam. I love dystopian. I love, and often with dystopian, it's like the resolution isn't like 100% kind of a resolution, like in the book, that it's not like, and now we figured it out, and
Yeah.
don't worry, world, we're okay. So now what? What will you write anymore? Tell me yes. Any
I
more about
absolutely hope
dragons?
so. I think I have some more stories. And if I did a sequel, basically it would be like taking the characters from New Dragon City and then having Lucas and Cinder come back from Dawn of the Dragons,
Nice.
and kind of be together for a new adventure. And so, and Maya too. I think Maya, who is in the beginning of New Dragon City, she goes down into the subway tunnel, so we
Oh,
don't see
nice.
too
That would
much
be
of her.
cool.
But Maya is Noah's best friend. So when she comes up from the subway tunnels, which basically is the end of New Dragon City, he's like, guess what? I'm best friends with a dragon now. And
Right.
that's going to be really hard for her to try to deal with, right?
Yeah.
Because, oh my gosh,
You
like,
changed without me,
yeah, like
which
I
is
missed
part of
all of
life
this.
when friends or family change without you.
So it's going to be very, very shocking and hard for her to be like, oh, now he's all Team Dragon. He has all these new friends and a new friend is Dragon. And where do I fit into his new world? And so that's going to be a tough thing
Oh,
for her. So yeah.
more beautiful themes. I'm excited. Anything else? What else is in the works? Do you have more Disney coming out? More realistic fiction? What else is coming?
Yeah, so I just put out a Wednesday cookbook, the official Wednesday cookbook. So that's really
Fun.
exciting. I work with Netflix and Penguin Random House. And we did the secret recipes of Nevermore Academy. So that
Cool.
was really fun to put together. I worked with a chef that specializes in fandom cookbooks. And so we created this really fun, perfect for Halloween,
Yes.
cookbook. So I would definitely check that out. And I have new stuff with Disney that I'm working on, but because it's Disney, I'm not allowed to say what it
This is
is.
what's next.
So stay tuned on that one.
Oh, wonderful. Yes, I know from different book groups I'm in. Mostly I'm in book groups with ones of children's books, but I have one that is just so adults, but they're so excited about yours and the ones they can't get because they're only available in certain
Oh,
countries.
yes.
And
Oh,
yes.
yeah. So hopefully those ones will come out in the US as well, the Twisted
Yes.
Tale.
Hope to see more of those coming. Mary, could you recommend for us a favorite children's book that has impacted you?
Yeah. So there's a series that I really like because there's not a lot of science fiction, books for kids. And so this came out a few years ago, maybe like 10 years ago, I think. It's called Omega City. It's by Diana Peterfreund, who's a friend of mine.
Okay.
And it's kind of like these kids discover this underground, like 1950s style bunker, like
Okay.
city that no one knows exists, and have this
Hmm.
amazing adventure, being chased, and it's super action packed and very sciency, so it's very good for like STEM kids, and lots of puzzles, so it's super fun. And I feel like it was such a good book, and it was kind of under represented
Okay,
in the
cool.
sense, yeah, it's like it wasn't a huge book, but it was so good, and there's 3 books in the series, so I would highly recommend that
Okay,
one.
I'll go check it out because I haven't heard of it. Omega
Yeah.
what?
Omega City.
Omega City. All right. I will definitely check that out. Well, thanks so much, Mary, for talking to us and just
Absolutely. Thank you for
all the
having
work you
me.
do in your writing. I hope that you enjoyed hearing about Dawn of the Dragons. If you like my podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you could take a minute and rate and review BookHuddle. This helps more people to be able to find BookHuddle. Now go and have a fantastic week and read some amazing books.